The adult beverages are poured, the kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old.
I was following this awful tutorial online about how to get better sound. And it's just like, yeah, well, just like, put a helmet on your dog and put your dog underwater.
What?
Yeah, so if you want better sound, you put a helmet on your dog and you put your dog underwater. Because that way it's a subwoofer.
Oh my god.
Wow. Now, the interesting thing about that one is I came up with that. That's me. That's all me.
That's you? That's out on the internet now. That is everybody's.
Now, be clear. I'm sure someone else has thought of it. I'm sure if you went to a dad pun website, it would exist. So it's not to say someone else hasn't connected those pieces, but...
No, that's original. That's Trevor original.
I've read so many of them, they just start to come to me. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's the mix of my age and kids, and all of a sudden now the dad puns are just natural.
You're flowing, man. I don't know. You're in your prime.
It's just a language. So
that's right. Rosetta Stone here.
So speaking of terrible mistakes, I made an awful one. So last week I had a brief story about my kids unlocking or me not setting up the parental controls correctly on the Nintendo Switch and getting a bunch of notifications of, oh, congratulations on your purchase.
Yeah.
Including a $70 purchase of Zombie vs. Plants Battle for Neighborhood, which at least they're playing.
Oh, that's good.
They're having a lot of fun, so it's just like, fine, at least, right?
Yeah.
Now, I had to take care of business. I had to get this thing locked down. And I'm going through all the settings, and I do recall I had turned off the passwords. I think there had been a case where 2 or 3 times I had to go to the Nintendo website, reset my password.
Okay.
And I was just like, forget it. I'll put it in one time. The kids haven't gone to the store yet, so just remove it all. You don't have to enter your password to buy anything.
Okay, that's where I came from. All right.
So,
okay.
Dad mistake, there it is. Now, I correct the settings. I'm like, okay, when a purchase takes place, you have to enter the password. When you use a credit card, you have to do the password. Just ding, 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 ding.
Yep.
All 9 yards, right?
Yep.
And now I'm back at the store. And I'm looking at it, I should test this. I would expect that that's been saved, and now before my kids get back into it and I get kind of screwed over,
yeah,
let's make sure that it actually works. I can now say I'm the proud owner of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Oh, no.
Because it didn't work.
Oh, my God.
I clicked through and I accidentally purchased the game. There was no confirmation. There was no password. It was just click, click. Oh, congratulations, you have it.
That's it, eh? Oh, my God. Now you...
Just... I'm just holding it, looking at it how did I get here? Come on.
I mean, let's apologize to our audience who thought we were experts in what we're doing here. I'm just saying. Wow, man. I don't know. I don't know. You should unlink everything now. Just delete the icon off the menu.
That was one of the options. You could actually just remove your credit card. You can remove all accounts. And there's something about it where the thought that I'm going to have to re-enter all this nonsense every time. Not that I'm buying games weekly, but even still.
Well, you are now.
Well, yeah. My kids are.
That's right.
Anyway, so I accidentally... Now, I chose Scott Pilgrim because in the back of my head, firstly, there was a deal. This thing was down to $6.
Oh, that's well worth it, yeah.
So I was like, at worst case, I'm still going to be pretty happy with this one. My kids have gotten into brawlers. Okay. So this is going to be a lot of fun for us. And it's up to 3 players.
Right.
So what ended up happening is the settings don't save until you close the store.
That's interesting, though. It shouldn't do that. It should just save upon exiting that menu screen.
You would think. So I went ahead and purchased Scott Pilgrim by accident, closed it, shut it down, came back in. The next purchase, lo and behold, yes, you have to have a password. I even went into purchase. He snuck one more in on me.
Really?
Yeah, he bought an extra character pack in Smash Brothers for $7.
Right, okay. Already getting the DLC. I get it. All right.
And again, I'm just on this fence where it's okay, I probably should. It feels like I should discipline him,
right?
Because I've told him not to purchase things, but also, I didn't do the job I was supposed to do by shutting it down.
I thought you were gonna say that also. I kind of want to play that character in Smash Brothers. So
there's that part too.
Wow.
So I went to the store, I tried to get in, wouldn't, locked me out. I went into a couple games to try to purchase DLC or something, also locked me out. So as best as I can tell, until I receive emails to the contrary, my system is finally locked down, and I'm the proud owner of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
I mean, great game. It's surprising that you didn't pick, like, I don't know, Metroid Dread or something. Like, whoops, there goes $90.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm going to be enjoying the heck of it. We have dad puns coming at us live from our comment section. So,
really?
Friend of the show, Chris from Perjangers and Wall Hangers, great podcast, Perjangers and Wall Hangers. We had the pleasure of being on their show last week. If I buy guns from a T-Rex, does that make him a small arms dealer?
All right, okay. Like this that's coming in hot. I love it.
That is fantastic, Chris. Thank you for
yes.
That is gorgeous. That is wonderful. So, live dad puns coming in from the audience. You gotta love it. Hey, as always, if you've had your own experiences with Nintendo Switch and purchasing games, either for ill or for good, if you have some dad puns for us, reach out to us at our website, newdadgaming.com, or at Twitter at newdadgaming. Scott Pilgrim is actually a very interesting choice and a good segue into our next part, because I believe you had this game too, but it was on a console and it was retired, and thus you lost access, right?
Yeah, I had it for the PS3, and they completely wiped it from the store, right? So it was one of those things where wish I had it downloaded. I did not have it downloaded, and then it disappeared forever. So yeah, it was on a PS3. I had it.
So I'm I'm honestly quite happy I have it for the Switch now, but
yeah,
it mimics a situation I've been going through where I've been perusing retro handhelds.
Oh, this is totally you. Yeah, no, this is
right.
You.
It's just like,
yep.
Like I don't know if you've ever seen these ones. So they usually come from a somewhat sketchy website. It is usually in the form of an old Game Boy, but even smaller, or kind of like a PSP shape.
Yeah.
So it is kind of this janky, tiny LCD screen. And again, the one we're currently looking at that I'm very compelled at, which Jeff, I think you'd say looks like me.
Oh, yeah.
It's a shrunk height-wise Game Boy, but it allows you to just install an OS. There's usually custom OS. It allows you to download ROMs and just have an entire library of retro classics on the go for your tiny handheld.
Yeah.
Jeff, why do I want this?
Honestly,
there's no need.
There is no need, but you just look at the form factors. You're like, you know what? That would really hit the spot if I'm out and about and I have like a small jacket.
I'm never out.
You're not out. So really there's no reason to have this, but you kind of want to look at it on your shelf or say that I could have it. Like I could attempt to play this, but really you're going to load it up with like 500 ROMs and not play any of them? Or just like listen to the menu of one and you're like, yeah,
it's fine.
That's good.
And the thing is, like, it's just I have so many games to go through. Like I am drowning in choice. Xbox Game Pass Life, just Steam library.
Yeah.
Like I'm not wanting for games. Like there's a bunch I'm trying to go through. So it's not as though I so badly need this. And truth be told, like we have computers, we have tablets, we have phones. If you wanted an emulator, you could sort it out too.
Right. Yes.
So but I don't know what it is about the compact nature of this that kind of calls back to our old Game Boys, to our Game Boy SPs. Like how does this thing strike you? Like obviously I want it. Like it would almost make sense with my preference for my desire for such hardware.
Yeah.
Almost just to have it as a collector. Like, do you see something like this and are just compelled to get it, or is it an immediate X for get it out of my face?
I mean, if you can get around like the kind of sketchy website that you need to order it from, do you know what I mean? Because I had a friend growing up in high school that he would order stuff online actually, and that was a long time ago. So online was even sketch. Straight from Japan, and it was these kind of consoles. It was like even modded Dreamcast and all that stuff. Like he would get that stuff shipped to him, and sometimes he would hit the jackpot, and he would have something like this. Like if this thing could hold all the games of yesteryear in a kind of like little packet of your memories, and you can always have it. And look like it's loaded with like USBs, like it's got modern, peripherals to it.
Yeah,
I think it's cool, but I don't think I'd ever use it, especially if it's like $100. I don't know. Like that's
so they usually are going between $100 to $300.
$300 is a lot.
Yeah. Like you can buy a Switch Lite used for $200 for sure. I see that often. I think, would you have any, as a father with your kids getting into gaming, is that an angle for you where, hey kids, like here's the entire old library of it. We got a big car trip coming up, as opposed to like $80, $100 games. Here's a tiny thing with all the games I grew up and I loved. Battery's going to last for about 4 days.
Yeah.
Here's your car entertainment. Like, do you see any benefit from a preserving of the games you grew up with and introducing it to your kid?
I do, but remember, my kids wanted the Mario 3D All-Star Collection, and that collected dust immediately. So, they did a little better with Super Nintendo games, but I've tried to introduce them because I have the SNES Mini Classic, and they will not play Mario Kart because it looks ugly. Like, they don't think that it looks good at all. So if it had a Nintendo 64, I think that would get them a little bit closer to where they need to be. But I've showed them the trailers to Zelda and stuff, and they're like, no, this isn't. So it's just like, are we out of our element right now? Like, this was my happy place. Like, Super Nintendo that was my life. That was my childhood. And looking back, even on as we see this video flash through some games, that brings me immediately back with those warm fuzzy feelings, right? Even just like winter days, like you're staying home from school because it's a no school day or no bus day, and you crack out the Super Nintendo or even Nintendo 64. But I don't think my kids would ever play this in the car. They will not do it. They will want the Switch or a laptop. I swear, they're just like, Dad, get a 5G signal in the car because I want to play with my friends on my laptop. So
just give us Roblox, Dad. Like, what are you doing here?
Basically, yeah. Can this run that? Because then we're set.
That could be an interesting.
This stage is not. They don't. Before, when they were younger, they would appreciate it, right? They would just. Yeah. I don't know. There was something to it. Now they're just in their zones. Minecraft, Roblox.
I might be in a sweet spot because my kids had discovered on the Switch SNES system, they had started to discover Donkey Kong.
Right.
I've been having a really great time with that one. So I could almost start to imagine where now might be a time where I could sneak it in on them. But
yes,
again, let's be truthful. That's just me trying to validate a purchase of this
I
thing.
am here to support you in justifying this purchase and then letting us all know how it works out. And even if you get the console, like, what is it made out of? Because I have no idea. Like, again, these sketch websites, who knows? There's
a few of them that just seem to rank really high on YouTubers who review it. So there's like 3 or 4 that come up on every list, and like, this thing is like rock solid. I love it. It's my daily driver. And it's usually that kind of smaller form one too.
Yeah.
I think the bigger ones, by the time you get that big, you might as well just have a Switch.
That's what Nintendo's banking on, right?
Yeah, that's what they're hoping for.
Switch.
They'll keep the price just that low.
That's right. I mean, I'm here for you, right? I can validate your purchase. That's okay.
That's just dad supporting dads right there.
That's right.
Yeah. If any gaming dads have jumped in on these kind of retro emulation consoles, I'd really like to know what your gaming dad experience has been. Another thing to discuss, like as far as like old games,
yeah,
and continue replaying games, or just maybe continually buying games and eventually going to play it.
Maybe
Resident Evil 4. I'm going to be pulling the trigger on purchasing it for VR for my Oculus Quest.
Oh wow!
So I got my VR headset,
yeah,
the Zuckerberg on my face, and Resident Evil 4 just launched for it, receiving great reviews. Like a lot of fun, like really brings something kind of fresh to that console. That game, if you liked it, like you should absolutely like consider getting it for this.
Right.
I have, I think almost 3 times had this game. I think I had it on. I think I had it on PlayStation. I'm pretty sure. I know I have it on Steam.
Oh yeah, yeah. Who checks that library on Steam though? There's like thousands of games in there. Really?
I'm trying to think if I have it like if it's on Game Pass or not. I can't answer that question, but it has been in my periphery so many times, and I've always meant to play it. Okay. It seems like such a great title. Like people seem to reflect upon it fondly. Did you play Resident Evil 4?
Yeah, I remember beating it, but that was a long time ago. I don't know how old this game is. Probably 20 years old. God, it's so long. I don't know. But yeah, I remember playing it. I remember really liking it. I can't imagine it in VR though. I mean, zombies on a flat screen, totally get it. And it was kind of spooky. Obviously the graphics are, 15, 20 years old. But in VR, it's just something that it's in your face, man. Like, I don't know. There's nowhere to go. So if you're flinching, like the video game's in you, up in those eyeballs with Zuck watching you. So
Zuck monitoring. So that's what you're afraid of. Okay.
But it looks cool. Like, it looks like they adapted it quite well. Again, lots of great reviews on how this thing is coming to play. I hope it comes to PSVR at some point, just to even try out, because I know that 7 had a demo, and that was too terrifying. So if there's something like that was, a little bit less realism almost, to jump into a horror game that's on your face, I would be down for it. But
yeah,
man, I don't know.
So there's two angles to it. One is just like the idea of constantly repurchasing games. I'd be kind of curious to see which ones you're guilty of doing that.
Oh.
But I think, honestly, for me, one of the biggest compelling parts is that for VR, I find a lot of the experiences to be fairly shallow.
Yes.
Like, that's something that you can really like sink your teeth into. And Resident Evil 4 is a full-length game, like AAA back in the day from it. Full story, like gameplay-wise, like it's dynamic and different, and like you have to be doing a bunch of stuff. So there's something about having a full-fledged title on VR. I don't know if you found the same thing with some of the VR titles you've been playing with.
Again, speaking, okay, so I'll hit both your questions with one game. Okay?
Yeah, please.
With one game. Skyrim. I have purchased that multiple times. Multiple systems and never beaten it. Right? But in VR, it completely changes. And it's just like that added level of how you can do things. Even just like the crossbow, shooting an arrow, even sword fighting. It's totally interactive, right? Instead of just the fletching of the controller on a 2D screen. But I have purchased that game many, many times, never beaten it, and I don't think I'll ever beat it in VR.
Like, okay, so sorry, I shouldn't act so upfront. I've never beaten Skyrim either.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Like, you get the best part. I think I probably got like 80 hours in, never beat it.
No,
just played a whole lot of it.
Yep.
And then it came time. It's just like, I get it. I'm good. Dragons.
That's right. Yeah, just give me epilogue. I got it.
Dragons, werewolves, vampires, Nords.
All
sure.
good. Sure. I'll do it all again in a couple of years.
Are you not compelled to beat it? Like, do you not want to just like speed run it at some point and get that closure?
Not really. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm like so part of the world, I couldn't care less. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have gone around that world so many times in the nooks and crannies, and I don't think I was really attached so much to the story, if that makes sense. More about the world building. So I was just like happy to be there and watch, the stars in the sky and the moon come out and go back into sunlight and then be terrified in the forest or the caves. But no, like, I don't think I'll ever beat it. That's one game I will never complete. Maybe my kids, like the next generation, can be like, hey, Dad, I'm going to beat Skyrim for you. I'm like, go for it, son.
You can do it, son.
That's right.
Be the better man. Be what I never could.
Exactly, yeah. Let's succeed where I failed.
Just a constant, repurchasing of games. I don't know if it quite counts with the Switch, like where being an old Nintendo, like Super Nintendo version, like you bought, as you said previously in the show, you bought the Nintendo pack, which had Sunshine, Galaxy, and what was the... what's the 3 from that Mario pack?
64.
64. So that would count as you purchasing that twice, if not 3 times.
Well, yeah, depending on the game in there. Yes. 64, yeah.
We just keep on spinning around. So I'm curious. Like, I think this is enough of a fresh spin, and I suppose the benefit to me at least is, sure, I have bought it many times, but I have never even played it, let alone like...
Okay, that's crazy though. Like, you've bought it many times, you never played it. So you're gonna jump in full-fledged, not only to a VR experience of it, but I had never played it. You don't even know you like it.
God, I can't even... In VR space, no one can hear you scream for tutorials.
Okay, well, there you go.
Like, how do I beat this? Like,
I don't know.
Zuckerberg, how do I beat this level? Use the diamond. Put it to the statue's eyes. Thanks, Zuck.
Yeah, you're gonna puzzle solve and all that stuff in your own space, man. You won't be able to look at your phone or look up the answers. You'll have to like peek underneath the visor to see where you're going.
Okay, I'll have to go in each session prepared. It's like, okay, for this 30 minutes of gameplay, like, here's the 6 things I got to do.
Right. You got to do this before Halloween, though. It's the perfect season for it.
Oh, there we are. As kids are showing up to my door, I'll be just wearing.
Yes.
It's like,
there you go.
It's like, what are you dressed as? The future. Sitting in my VR headset playing this awful game.
Yeah.
Awfully scary game, I should say.
Yeah.
Now, Jesus, speaking of scary and handhelds, I'm to understand that your son has received a hand-me-down cell phone.
Yes.
That is tremendous, like,
Are you
wow.
terrified, or are you like congratulatory? Like, oh,
No,
that's
I'm
awesome.
terrified. I'm
Yeah.
utterly terrified. Like the power of the smartphone and the window into what a window what that is into. That's so scary to me. Like what? How are you and your wife handling this?
Yeah, this is something that, again, it's my 8-year-old that has this hand-me-down phone, and before he had one of our iPhone 5s or something, just as like a not even a thing. It didn't operate anything.
Didn't turn on?
Yeah, no, it really didn't. Like the battery would just, again, sluice through in a matter of minutes, and you wouldn't be able to do anything. But it was for virtual school to talk with friends on Gmail or something, right? And then even Google was like, yeah, we're not supporting any of this anymore. So you got to get a better phone. So he got a hand-me-down actually from his grandmother, who got an upgrade. So it's at least like an iPhone 8 or something. And he is not used to this kind of power. So
Yeah, the 8 is like, as of that, that's a full.
It's not
fledged.
bad.
Most people, I think, even with modern iPhones, don't use the 8's power, up to the 8's power,
Right.
Like, so the fact that he's got all of that, the entire internet, and all of that power
In his hands.
in his young, innocent hands.
Yeah, so we've had to go, like, speaking of, locking kids out of e-shops and online purchases, we had to go through all that on the iPhone, which I think is a lot easier because you can just say literally it's a child account. All the purchases have to flow through us, so he can't buy anything, and he can go to it. He's going through again, when I purchase games, even for the kids, it's under the family account, under iOS, so anybody that's in my family can download it, right? So he's going through all the past purchases with all the cloud downloads and just nailing every single one. Like, he's like going down all the stuff he missed, like Among Us, yep, that's me.
Let's do this.
Bloons TD or whatever, like, yep, that's me. I'm like, oh my God, we need to, like, cool it, man. You're going to have overload. And we need to go through the steps of, what's appropriate, because a lot of these games have chat and stuff, not like verbal chat, but, typing chat. So I don't know. It's a lot at once. Speaking of scary and Halloween, like having a kid with this kind of power, again, it's a lot. I don't know.
The question I was going to ask was around browsing. Does a kid account have access to a web browser?
He does right now. He has access to Safari. So he can get on. So we haven't, speaking honestly, we haven't done our due diligence and kind of locked down the internet. We've said, again, we trust you. If we find anything inappropriate or something that's, not, as he gets older, that might change. We might have to put safeties in there as other kids talk. But he's not to go anywhere with it. He's not to show friends with it. He's supposed to kind of keep it at home. And then, if we find anything that's not cool on there, then he will have his permissions yanked. But the only thing I've found is that he goes on, like, a Minecraft wiki and finds, like, the ingredients to, like, craft whatever in the netherworld. So,
but that's the best case. Like, that's what we want, like, to use it for...
Yeah.
Good, like to use it as a source of information and reference. Like, you have anything you ever want, any question you have can be answered, and to use it to support schoolwork or curiosity or gaming, A+, wonderful.
Yeah.
It's like, but then he's like, oh, here's a wiki about how to do some really great stuff on Minecraft. It's some website called 4chan. Okay, let's just
exactly.
Let's just browse on it.
Yeah, let's just go here and see what that is. Okay, let's click on images. Oh God. All right. Well, let's not do that. Yeah, it can quickly spiral out. So we're keeping an eye on it, but it's hard now. Like, it's just, I'm not saying that we're gonna like hover over him every single time, but he seems to be. He's not allowed like in his room with it, right? So he has to be out in the open. So maybe that's a little bit of pressure. But yeah, I am surprised that he knows all that stuff like so intuitively. He's just like can find the site, no problem. He's been asking, we have all these Google Homes in our house. He asks Google all the time how to craft something, and like Google's like, yeah, according to Minecraft wiki, you could do this and blah blah blah. Do you want to hear more? And he's like, yes, I do. And then he like, again, if robots ever take over, they're coming for him. They're like, you asked me a billion Minecraft questions.
No, they'll think he's the best. He's like, hey, it's my best buddy. Let's go play Minecraft together.
You're the one that treated me like a person. We talk so much. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a big step for him. It's like this. And of course, this phone is better than my older son's phone because he got a hand-me-down a long time ago. So now he's kind of angry that he's older. He doesn't get a newer phone. Well, again, the younger one has waited so long. and maybe this is time for dad to get an upgrade. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like retro
Tale as
console,
old
new
as
phone.
time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm quite terrified because I've even seen it in our household with the limited screen. Thank God they don't have cell phones, but with YouTube.
oh
Right?
yeah.
We had various YouTube apps on whatever devices, and we had a very specific effort to lock that down because 3 to 4 clicks in, it takes a left turn real sharply.
Yep. Especially
You know,
now,
and
again, Halloween and stuff. There's a lot of scary, like even thumbnails out there that my kids again have had nightmares over YouTube thumbnails. So
and speaking of man, I'm pretty fortunate in that way because of their mentality, I suppose. But with a weird left turn they took at some point was to getting into Friday at Freddy's.
oh right, yeah, okay,
Right, so they started, and understandably because it's kind of somewhat like fuzzy, friendly looking animatronics, and then they're robots, and they're like kind of battling. So you could see where a bunch of their interests would intersect, and they'd be interested in that.
Yep.
The game itself, like, good God, like that is
Yep.
just nightmare fuel.
They're coming to murder you. Yeah.
So next thing you know, they're seeing how, but it's all on the periphery. I don't think they've ever even watched gameplay
Okay.
of Friday at Freddy's. What they have watched is people making pancakes of Friday at Freddy characters.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
There's a whole subgenre on YouTube of people who make fairly catchy, interesting songs based on these characters. So it's a whole music video. It's a fairly good song, honestly. Like, I find it catchy, but it's one of the characters saying like, "Oh, let me in the door,"
Right.
and then the guard is singing, "No, no, I won't do that." And it's this whole produced music video, and they just keep, "Oh, play this song, play this song." I'm glad you like music. That's
Right.
neat.
Yeah.
But
About
but, like,
murdering, but
if you only knew what you were playing with, son, like, it's just like you are about to dive into one of the most horrific, like, scary games, and you're just like on the outside bubble, like singing to some happy tunes that some fan has created.
right. Yeah.
This is hard to navigate.
God forbid, like after that video, it's just like up next. Here's a full little gameplay preview. Yeah, fun, great. I'll let you know how it goes. I'm again a trailblazer for you, Trevor. So you should be taking notes. Just saying.
It's like, well, my kids are messed up, and
Quick, shut this down, quick. I'm gonna go back in time to warn you.
Yeah, to close this thought off, another couple comments from Chris from Projangers and Wall Hangers. So he was strongly opposed to the daughter having a cell phone, but the wife caved in on that. He has an app that limits time and apps. So he has an app that limits time and apps. So, only this much time, only these apps.
Okay.
I can also prevent app installation. I have it set up that apps can only be installed by my PC. YouTube on smart TVs now give you the option to have a child account where it limits sensitive material. Yeah, and those I've discovered, and that had to happen after a certain string of videos showed up on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are all good points too, because again, those safeties are there for you to kind of play with and put into your own household on, what works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly peel them away.
One by one.
Oh God.
One by one. Hey, you have a teenager coming up, Jeff.
No, stop it with that word. Yeah. So old.
Oh, yes, sir. Alrighty, we'll wrap it up there for the week. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you like the show, you can find us on all the major podcasting networks. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, any of them. Going out and subscribing really does help us out, help us the show as we grow and try to reach as many dads as possible. Leaving a comment, that does wonders for us as well. So if you could consider taking the time, we'd really appreciate that. If you want to reach out to us, we had a lot of fun there with Chris from Projangers and Wall Hangers. Thanks so much for coming on live and mentioning it. But if you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at NewDadGaming. You can also reach out to us on our website, newdadgaming.com. We had a listener recently reach out and found a broken link on our website that we're going to need to fix.
There you go.
So really appreciate that. But if people come by to drop in their own parenting stories, advice for Jeff on how to possibly navigate this new cell phone world he's got himself into.
Right.
If you have a retro handheld that you put some bucks on, that you've had a good review for and a suggestion for dads, either for yourself or for your kids, we'd love to hear that. So at New Dad Gaming on Twitter, New Dad newdadgaming.com, and all the major podcasting networks. I'll say the word again, New Dad Gaming.
Yes.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old with a new iPhone. A newer iPhone. But just because you became a dad
doesn't mean it's game over.